Welcome into a special edition of GKW Good Karma Wrestling after night one of WrestleMania. I'm Gabe Neitzel from ESPN Milwaukee. With me, as always, Brian Rowitz from ESPN West Palm and from ESPN 1000 in Chicago. He is Jonathan Hood. Gentlemen, we finally got to see it. Let's go ahead and start with that main event. We weren't sure if it was going to be the main event. It was. It delivered. Sami Zayn, Kevin Owens, your new undisputed tag team champions in WWE. I had some people over at my house watching a little bit. They left to go. I don't know. They didn't want to watch the moment of the night. I don't know why. They decided to take off. I was watching the entire match standing in my living room, like this was the Green Bay Packers trying to win an NFC Championship game and make it back to the Super Bowl. I was so invested in this thing. And I tweeted it out. We've talked about it, but it's still, I want to take time and recognize it. A year ago, Sami Zayn was getting body slammed by Wee Man, taking a bowling ball to the testicles, and getting pinned by a mousetrap. He main evented WrestleMania tonight. He was the last one to come out, got the pop of the night when he came out, and had the crowd eating out of the palm of his hand as he delivered 3 haluva kicks to get the 1, 2, 3 in the middle of the ring. And look, tonight, I got no notes. I know a lot of times we complain about a lot of things on this show, and pro wrestling isn't perfect. But this was pretty damn near a perfect night of WrestleMania, man. This is why you do 2 nights, because they were able to let so many things breathe tonight, and it was such a good time.
And I just thought that WrestleMania Night 1 was timed out properly, too. I never felt like it was a real lull in the action. Commercial here, commercial there, promo here, promo there, but not to the point where I'm like, God, get on with it. I think it was timed nicely, actually, for Night 1 for WrestleMania. But boy, you're right. That main event, it just shows you, bro, it's the story and then the match. The story has been going on for a long time with Sami Zayn, and it culminates to Night 1 at WrestleMania. We wondered whether this was going to be the main event, and I think it was such a feel-good moment. I felt emotion watching it because here's Sami Zayn, and we've been in this corner and saying, hey, you're part of the bloodline, now you're out. This whole thing between him and Kevin Owens, it extends the story. So the story was actually more of an emphasis and more of a focus for me than the actual match because it's led up to it. I've never been bored with this whole storyline that's been going on with the bloodline. And then it comes down to this match and those 3 Aluva kicks, man. He took his time. There was a look in Sami Zayn's eyes I've never seen before. That look in his eyes when they put the close up on him, like, yeah, this is going to be the finish right here. This is Ric Flair, Shawn Michaels. You know what? I hate you, but yet I love you. Goodbye. And I'm going to put you out of your misery. And there we go. 1, 2, 3. And the crowd just went up in Los Angeles. Great moment.
Yeah, I mean, I've been one of the, I feel like, biggest supporters of pushing for Sami needs to be world champion. I felt like tonight was going to be a letdown because it wasn't him winning the world title. It wasn't the finish I wanted in the story. But I agree with you, Gabe. I was on my feet that whole time. And it had me swerved a few times. There were a couple times like, wait a minute, are the Usos going to win this? Or wait, KO's going to get the pin here? Like, there were so many false finishes that had me buying in that it wasn't the obvious, okay, of course Sami's going to win. They had the crowd going in. And the other thing I'll note, we have given so much credit to Sami, and KO's down that also. The Usos deserve this moment. You know, Graves mentioned it. Last year was their first ever main card Mania win. They've been so damn good during the storyline as well. Between handshakes and the J stuff, they deserve to be in this main event spot tonight as well.
It was talked about, Sami was talking about it in a couple of interviews leading up to Mania. And, you know, everybody was kind of hoping that this would be main event, you know, Night 1. But nobody was really sure, you know, and he wasn't told either way. At least if they were told beforehand, he didn't let it on. And I saw one of the interviews, he talked about how the tag team belts have never actually, you know, the championships for tag team and WWE, it's never actually main evented WrestleMania. Mm-hmm. So this was a historic first. And when we shine that spotlight on historic firsts, when we talk about, you know, the first women who, you know, we talk about them as a whole. They talked about it tonight, having all 4 of those women in the semi-main events with Rhea and Charlotte and the official and Samantha Irvin, I think her name is, who's a fantastic ring announcer from Smackdown. Like they made a big deal out of that. And Jessica Carr. Yes, Jessica Carr. That was the official. this should be made a big deal for the Usos as well. That's where I agree. When we talk about these big moments in terms of WrestleMania history, like it's the first time that the tag team, they came in as the tag team champs. They played a big role. Everything revolved around Sami. We talk about Sami, everybody, hell, the promo video barely mentioning anybody but Sami. This whole thing revolves around Sami. He's the engine that makes it go. But KO, you're right. KO, the Usos, they all made it work, and they all deserve to have that moment in the main event of night one of WrestleMania.
Yeah, I really enjoyed that. And I like Michael Cole is so comfortable now as a play-by-play guy,
So
even though Gomez Adams is still there with the mustache and the suspiciously dark hair. He's still back there, but at the same time, Michael Cole can still be able to tell the story, and also Corey Graves. I'm not the biggest fan of, but I understand they talked about how Zayn and Owens, this goes back to Reseda, California. This is where the Young Bucks, where they were able to apply their trade, and talked about the Usos and how long they've been tag team champions and all that. So I just think that they really dug deep and told the story, the bloodline, and also their personal stories. It just got me hooked in, man. But I've been hooked in this whole time. We've seen long storylines like, when is this ever going to be over? But this is tremendous. And we got this tonight. We'll see what happens tomorrow. And then this is why Monday Night Raw is always successful after WrestleMania, because people want to know what's next. But that was just a hell of a match. And for Rowitz, I know Gabe and I have been talking to you for months. This is what's going to happen. It's going to eventually going to be a tag team match. I know that's not what you wanted. But at the very least, Sami Zayn, because of his hard work, gets a championship, and with his best friend. I know you didn't want him to be tag team champion. You want him to be Universal Champion, and maybe that's down the road, but this is the proper story tonight to tell.
Well, that from my standpoint, I had to tell myself, like, enjoy tonight, and I did. They sucked me in from an emotional standpoint. From a wrestling fan, maybe negativity standpoint, they still are the tag titles. Like, I'm not confident that 3 months from now they're going to be main eventing shows. But tonight, it was their night. Tonight, it was their moment. Like, it's still the WWE. They did a good job showcasing some other teams in that four-way earlier. I thought that was actually an underrated match. It was a pretty good match early in the night. But it still is the tag titles. There is a history. Vince is still lurking around. So I'm not confident moving forward. But tonight, they had 80,000, whatever number you want to run with. They had them all on their feet to end that night.
I mean, would it have been a bigger moment had Sami won in Montreal? Of course it would have been. Like, you wouldn't have been able to top it. That was a kind of a crescendo of the storyline. This was still huge. And I don't know if Sami ever becomes WWE champ, Universal champ, whatever, if presumably they end up splitting the titles. I hope he gets that opportunity. I think he's shown what he can do. The way he can just tell a story, man, like there's very few people that I think over the last decade that have been able to grip you emotionally the way he has over the past year. But whether he wins one or not, at the end of the day, he gets to say he main evented WrestleMania.
Yeah.
Like, yes. And not every WWE champ, not every Universal champ ever got that opportunity. WrestleMania is the showcase of the immortals, and he got that immortal moment where he gets that, and that can never be taken away. This is just as big to me, well, maybe not as big, but it's up there in terms of guys who were able to unexpectedly do it. And I brought this name up before. Other people have as well. When Mick Foley won that first championship, nobody thought that was going to be something he would ever do. Main eventing Mania and getting that pinfall is such a big deal in the history. And when we look back at WWE history, and nobody can ever take that away from Sami Zayn and what happened tonight.
Well, 100%. I mean, we saw a lot of tweets, especially for like the wrestling dorks like us, like all the tweets of Kevin Steen and El Generico. Like those guys just won the WrestleMania main event. Like,
whoa. What, you know the identity of El Generico?
Well, I think he's friends with Sami. Generico, obviously, the orphanage in Mexico, but they're very tight. They have a good relationship.
Thank God that El Generico never made it to WrestleMania, says Corey Graves.
Like stepping back and realizing that and like, oh yeah, this is a little bit bigger than a PWG state. It's like, yes, you're never going to take that away from them. KO 2 years in a row, getting to main event Mania. I, for one, don't love the 2 nights Mania because, let's just get a tight card and a good card. But because of 2 nights is why we get a night like tonight. So overall, I think that is a win.
You mentioned, you may not see the tag team championships in the main event picture in a WrestleMania or one of their tentpole events. Well, clearly the best storyline deserves a main event spot. And so the Bloodline's the best, and that's why they've got both spots for the main event. This is why they're in that spot. I mean, no, you don't usually see the tag team championships in this position because the WWE and in some ways AEW doesn't care enough about tag teams to put them in that situation. But the best storyline deserves to be in the main event, and that's the best story you could tell for night one. So I'm happy for it. I'm looking forward to seeing what happens now after Sunday and seeing what happens with the Bloodline, because this has been fun. Michael Cole just said this on a Richard Deitch podcast. He said he's been with the company 26 years. He goes, I haven't seen a storyline like this. He thinks it deserves an Emmy because it's been going on for like, what, almost 3 years?
Yeah.
52 weeks a year.
Yeah, so, 2.5 years.
Yeah.
He returned at SummerSlam 2020. Shockingly, that's when the whole thing started. It was spectacular the way it was slow build, and who knows, maybe the storyline continues. I mean, something's going to happen with the Bloodline on Monday, whether or not Roman Reigns is champion, whether, it's going to be interesting to see the fallout of the Bloodline and how the WWE handles that story.
And Gabe, that was the best story we saw in the main event, but was that the best match we saw at WrestleMania Night 1?
No, it was not. And I believe we all think maybe the same match, even though I don't know how Charlotte Flair didn't break her neck multiple times.
Or break her nose.
She might have. I don't know. I mean,
she only had a little cut there, but that was rough.
She might have, but I mean, Rhea Ripley, being the new Smackdown Women's Champion, defeating Charlotte Flair in an absolute classic of a match, which, by the way, very smart move by Hunter and the crew to bring out Pat McAfee and just kind of let everything breathe between that Rhea Ripley Charlotte Flair match and then what ended up being the main event. Having a little bit of gap between those certainly was very, very smart from putting the rest of that card together. But my goodness, what a match. Like, the crowd wasn't into it right away. Like, we had such a good night leading up to that, and it felt like the crowd was like, okay, we still know we have Sami. All right, we just got to take it easy. We just got to take, we got to take a breath here. And these two women just went out there and put on absolute, like, they gave the crowd no choice. Like, okay, you can be quiet here. We're giving you no choice once we start because we're going to get you to buy in. And they had the crowd, just like Sami in the main event, eating out of the palm of their hand by the time that thing had finished. So many high spots, so many different spots I hadn't seen before from these two, some classic spots between the two of them. And of course, again, somehow Charlotte deciding to overturn on a couple of suplexes and almost breaking her. Seriously, the one off the top rope, I don't know how she didn't land on her neck. Again, that goes to her athleticism to somehow flatten out and get on her chest before she was, her head hit the mat. But it was a spectacular match and so much fun to watch.
That Charlotte Rhea match was the best match we saw on night one, without question. And for our new viewers and listeners that's checking us out here for this special night one of Good Karma Wrestling for WrestleMania, we always say on this show that you may not like the build on Raw or SmackDown or Dynamite or Rampage, whatever show you watch, but once it's in the ring for a pay-per-view, the reason why that you have these premium live events or pay-per-views is because you want to see something that you've never seen before. And that's the reason why. That's the only reason why we're into wrestling, is that it's not just the week to week. It's like, once you're in this big spotlight, what are you going to show us that we haven't seen before? From those two, there's a lot we had not seen before. For Rhea Ripley and Charlotte, they had the time, but also they made the most of their time. Rhea Ripley, we all predicted that she'd win the championship, which is great, but how she won the championship and how there was so many unbelievable near falls. It was about 5 or 6 times from both women that I thought, okay, this is over. And it wasn't over. It was amazing, these two. Rhea Ripley is the new queen of the WWE because this match. Here's what I want to ask you, though, bro. So what's with the smile from Charlotte? How come she's not up the ramp? Like, what's so funny? What's so funny about that? Like,
that's always been one of her biggest flaws.
Rhea? Because she Rhea?
Never sells anything post-match. Like, that's, to me, one of my biggest flaws in watching her. But maybe it's like, oh, I'm passing the torch. But, like, that match was not a WWE-style match. Like, the physicality, the chops, those sort of elbows to the spine. Like, that's the type of match that I'm watching this weekend in a hotel banquet hall, not at WrestleMania. And, like, those two delivered. Like, that was a really fun match. And honestly, those were two women that were going out there saying, like, all right, you're not going to put us in the main event? Well, we're going to show you what a main event looks like. And they really delivered in the ring tonight.
Yeah, they absolutely did. And they probably would have main evented night one in literally any other year. But, like, the Bloodline just takes up so much oxygen in the conversation around WWE that I feel like their build was a little lackluster, and maybe that's because of the disconnect of so many other things happening with the Judgment Day and so much happening on Raw. So Rhea, it felt like Rhea was almost in the build to this, more presence for the Mysterio build because of her role in the Judgment Day with Dominic than it was for her own match. But really, there wasn't much storytelling that needed to go into this. Rhea won, she won the Royal Rumble and decided that she wanted to go after the Queen. Hey, I foolishly challenged her a few years ago after she won the Rumble with my NXT title. There wasn't much storytelling. I don't think that needed necessarily to happen there, but the match just absolutely delivered. And just from a physicality standpoint, I'm glad they let them be physical because that's what makes these two, and to that extent, Bianca, who we'll see tomorrow night. But Charlotte and Rhea are unlike anything else WWE or really most professional wrestling promotions have. Like maybe AEW has Jade in terms of just this physicality standpoint. Like they're taller, they're stronger, they're bigger. They're built different than most of the women that are in professional wrestling. And they let them showcase that tonight. And it was spectacular to see.
Yeah, it really was. And so, I don't know where Charlotte goes from here. I'm sure there'll be maybe a rematch at some point. But just watching Rhea Ripley, and by the way, deserving of the championship. Yep. And this is one of those situations where she's going to make that championship even better. Which also tells me, by the way, the Judgment Day, are they all going to SmackDown now? I don't know.
Well, she's done most of the heavy lifting with the Judgment Day anyway. Like when they initially broke up, you just assumed that Finn Balor would be the leader, given how he's been the leader of the Bullet Club in Japan, and like he's been a faction leader before. But for all intents and purposes, it's been Rhea. Like Rhea's been the leader of that faction.
Yeah, and she's gotten darker as far as her personality. Think about this. Whatever you think of Dominic, and I know that we were going after Dominic when he first got into the storyline, like, oh, he's so dull, his voice is the same. Like, is there another gear to Dominic's game? You could thank Rhea Ripley for that. Rhea Ripley has helped Dominic in a big way. And so not just her being the champion, but I just think her work has been fantastic in this Judgment Day. Because I know that when it first came together, all the three of us were like, so where is this going? The verbiage is bad and it was boring. This is with Edge, and I'm an Edge guy. I'm like, this is the worst things Edge ever done. Like, what's going on? But now I think that Rhea Ripley is coming into her own. We always thought Rhea Ripley is going to be the lead of the women's division at some point. She looks the part. I remember watching her at NXT UK because she's from Australia. I saw her first. I'm like, boy, this is the next Charlotte. No, she's the next Rhea Ripley.
Well, that's it. You mentioned the Mysterio match. Like, I don't know if it was because of expectations, but like that was a fun match also. Like, I enjoyed every part of that. I think Dominic had the entrance of the night when they were really trying to blow up all these entrances. I loved his entrance, like coming from the jail and things like that. But that's the best we've seen Dominic. I don't know where we go from here, but on that stage, in that moment, he delivered tonight and deserves a ton of credit. And to your point, Gabe, like, yeah, it sort of felt like Rhea was missing from that match. But overall, those two just went out there and just put on a show tonight.
So this is what we got. I don't want to miss anything that we got in that Dominic Rey Mysterio match because there was a lot that happened. And if you blinked, you may have missed it. So we got Bad Bunny, the Dom entrance where he's coming in from a prison cell with, then we had Snoop with the Eddie music entrance. There was a Luchador Cinnamon Toast Crunch mascot made an appearance. You didn't, we were just blessed. And by the way, Cole and Graves knocked it out of the park in that match. Like, I know you're not a fan of Graves, Hood, but when he's like, yeah, I can't even defend Dom with that. When he threw the drink in his sister's face and she's ready to jump the rail, like they just absolutely killed the commentary for that match. So much of the Dom stuff is silly and stupid and pro wrestling. And if you lean into it, it can be so much fun. And everybody leaned into it tonight. It was spectacular.
We even got LWO shirts, Latino World Order. Like, come on. Like, yeah, that was part of that match.
Yeah, I was wondering where is Ray's backup because you knew the Judgment Day was going to come out.
Right.
Here comes the LWO. That was presented, I think, on SmackDown on Friday.
Yeah, SmackDown last night.
That's pretty cool. Now, I will give the commentary team credit. Michael Cole went like 10 alarm fire. He went JR on him. He was Eric Bischoff, you're no good son of a bitch. That's it's just like that's pretty much that. That's what Cole gave us. Like he just would not let it go and just he back Graves down. That's what happened in the broadcast. Like, Graves like, okay, well, I
apologized after the match. He apologized. He's like, I'm a dad. I get emotional. I get fired up when I see this. It was so good. Michael Cole without. I feel so bad for some of the hatred that's been launched his way. And I think so much of it is just still even a decade later, when JR was there and they had like, what was the coal mine, whatever he did when he was in like and he was the heel going up against JR. It was just so bad. But Cole freed from the shackles of Vince McMahon on commentary. Like the dude's just so good. He's so talented. And they mentioned that he's now called the most WrestleManias ever of anybody in the history of the company. So congratulations to him. But he was, especially in that rematch, man, like he just leaned into the ludicrousy of it. And it was, the match was better for it. The match was like, it delivered, I'm sure, for the people in the audience. Again, Bad Bunny got involved. Snoop Dogg drove in Rey Mysterio to Eddie's music. So like so much happened. But for the 80,000 plus people that were in attendance, I'm telling you, if you happen to be there, if you listen back to this later, if you're out in Los Angeles and listening on ESPN LA, you missed out with the commentary because it elevated it just that little bit that it absolutely needed.
So we have to come to a consensus here. So Browitz, first of all, unbelievable that Rey got a 3-song entrance. I don't think anybody in WrestleMania's got a 3-song entrance. Three songs? Like one, maybe two. Like the remix into the original, right? Mm-hmm. 3 songs for Rey Mysterio. Okay, that's dope.
That's a Hall of Famer.
Completely dope. I love that, right? So who had the better entrance, though? Is it Dominic in the paddy wagon with the mask, okay? Is it him, or is it Snoop and Rey? Who had the better entrance?
I go with Dominic. The other ones, though, for like entrance of the night, just to throw out there, you had Cena and Make-A-Wish Kids. You had the whole Becky sort of Sin City stuff. Logan Paul with the HBK style with the microphone was interesting. Okay. Seth do his thing also. So there are some other ones, but I still think Dominic. Like it's been so fun, like to see his growth. We all were sort of unanimous. Like this sort of sucks to like see it pay off like this, and then to have the patience to not bail on it, like. It was pretty rewarding sort of to see that all come to fruition. He was my entrance of the night.
I mean, how many people have survived this sort of sucks reaction from the audience? Correct. Right? Like people have survived. The biggest one obviously being like Rocky Maivia. But The Rock had to completely change the character in order to survive. Right. Dom is still Dom. Like it's still the same thing. He's been able to grow within the role and lean into some of the stuff. But like You mentioned John Cena, and I'm sure we won't spend a ton of time talking about this, but there wasn't much of a reaction after that match after Austin Theory got the 1, 2, 3. It was just kind of a meh, right? Which is the worst thing you want. It's the worst. Dom is getting legitimate boos. He's getting that heel heat that you're looking for throughout the course of the match, and it just makes everything feel that much bigger when Rey, is able to give the 619 and give the splash off the top.
All right, change the Chiron on the bottom. Back to Rey. Get back to Rey. Rey. Change the Chiron on the bottom of the screen there. There we go.
Hey.
Now, back to Rey. Now
he did it. He beat Cena.
No, wait a minute. We'll get there. I just want to ask you guys, or just talk.
We don't have to, by the way. I'm just telling you, we don't have to. We don't have to talk about.
We can't do that now. I mean, it's John Cena. I mean, there's a reason why we have the end of the show. But I just want to ask you guys about that matchup because there were so many spinning plates on that. Mm-hmm. I guess we weren't just going to get just a regular one-on-one match. First of all, it's a grudge match. Yeah. But there's so many things that was involved in that. So does Rhea Mysterio and Mysterio's wife, did they get a check? Did they get a payday? Mm-hmm. Bad Bunny get a payday? I mean, there was so much going on there. Well, I just want to just point this out. I'm very disappointed in Rhea Mysterio. She's there, front row, drinking tequila, and then she gets the tequila thrown back in her face. I don't know. Tony Khan should do something about this. I think Tony Khan should do something about this. The idea that she's drinking tequila. Oh, that's MJF.
Yeah,
but still, it shouldn't have happened. That red cup was very suspicious. I think it was tequila thrown back in her face by Dom.
The Bad Bunny clearly setting up some sort of angle that's going to happen at Backlash next month, which is happening down in Puerto Rico, which
Bad Bunny
is the
is hosting that, I believe, is what they're doing.
Well,
there.
I mean, the host tonight ended up in a match.
He did.
You know, that was made official by the host. I didn't realize was going to be a host, Snoop Dogg. But my guess, I wouldn't be shocked if we saw a Rey Bad Bunny tag team match versus Dom, and maybe. I mean, I guess you would have to go with the other Puerto Rican star in there with
Priest.
Yes, with Damian Priest.
Well, here's a little news nugget. I don't think it was out there, but Shawn Michaels at a media summit a few weeks ago talked about how him and Damian Priest were flying out to LA because Priest was working out with Bad Bunny at his built wrestling ring. So maybe there is something there with Damian Priest, but that seems to be
well. That was his tag team partner before, so you can certainly build in some storyline like they tagged at WrestleMania in years past. So you can build that into the storyline, especially because I'm assuming Bad Bunny is not going to be showing up at Raw and SmackDown, building to any sort of match over the course of the next month.
I mean, that guy, more likely we see him at Raw and SmackDown building than we see Cena.
I think that's fair. I think it's very fair, actually. I think that Bad Bunny's more into this than we know.
Oh, he loves it.
I mean,
and that's why everybody loves him, because he loves it so much. Like, he trained enough to do a destroyer. He did a Canadian destroyer. Like, everyone's like, oh, okay, Bad Bunny's wrestling. Oh, I didn't realize he could do that.
You know what? I don't know what obviously all three of us don't know what the card is yet. It's in Puerto Rico. It's going to sell out. They haven't been there in over almost 15 years. I'd put Bad Bunny in the main event. He'll deliver.
Roman's not working it. Obviously, Cody would, but
maybe not. Maybe not. I mean, this is not one of their signature tentpole events. They're just going because they haven't been in years.
Right.
Bad Bunny deserves to be semi-main or main because apparently he's going to deliver. We watch people on
zero doubt he delivers. Zero doubt. he's coming through.
He's flawless. I mean, they're going to see WWE, but they're definitely going to see him in Puerto Rico.
Like,
that's going to be
he's one of the biggest stars in the world. Like, I understand. We had the conversation during a regular show about Logan Paul and like, is he actually that big of a deal? And we dove into some of the social media stuff. Like, Bad Bunny, like some of the event, like the arenas that he sells out by himself, like there is zero question about the legitimacy of the star that Bad Bunny is, and he is. Like, this is a gold mine for the WWE. Like, if as much as he wants to be around, they're going to let him be around because it's only going to be a good thing for them.
And at least with him, like, there's not so many other layers. Like, Logan Paul, I felt so lost. Like, R-Truth was trending because of who was in the sports drink costume. But, like, there's so many other things. Bad Bunny, just a musician. That's it.
But is that really trending that people thought that was R-Truth in that drink?
Yeah, they say black guy with something.
Yeah, that's racist.
Yes, that's all that
was.
Yes.
Yeah. Because, of course, I tweeted on the account. I thought it was the Pope, Elijah Burke. That's what I thought it was. I tweeted at the Pope. I go, "You gonna check for that, Pope?" That's what he looked like to me. So, but that's
R-Truth works there.
It's a black guy in the bottle. Gotta be R-Truth. No, it's not. It's the Pope. By the way,
that is such a big reveal. Like, they pull a thing. I was like, "Who's that?" Like,
Gabe, I think Broach is fired. This whole thing.
We'll go back to this.
That was not in the. That was not in the
script. I mean, but
Bad Bunny future Hall of Fame. That's not a time.
But do this, hey. But show me the lie, JHood.
Yeah,
show me the lie.
Hear that silence? Sounds like Impact Wrestling. Where's the lie? Fish? Hey, Bobby Fish. Where's the lie?
I mean, for crying out loud, William Shatner's in their Hall of Fame. All right, like. He's already done more than enough to be in the celebrity wing of the WWE Hall of Fame.
It's a Thursday topic when we do our shows every Thursday at 7 p.m. Eastern, 4 Pacific. But we have to talk about these celebrities coming in here and just being flawless. Yeah, I mean, not missing a step, man. It's ridiculous. How? That didn't used to be that way. I mean, they must really work hard because they get every step down. Every step, like the Logan Paul match against Seth Rollins.
And Cole, again, said it during the match, like, when are we going to stop being surprised? Because every time he has stepped into a ring, he has shown that he has belonged. He's gone up against the biggest ones. Yes, he doesn't get the win, but he's shown that he belongs in these matches. He belongs in these spotlights. And he's just... he played the heel so well, and I think it's so natural for him because he's a little douchey to begin with, right? Like, so he leans into it a little bit more, and they always say the best wrestling characters are you turned up to 11, and I think that's what Logan Paul did leading into this match. Like, I mean, I don't know if I would have stolen a GTS because for a second there, people started chanting CM Punk. I don't know if that's what you want at WrestleMania, but that's maybe the one misstep you made is going to a GTS.
But that stuff's gonna get the clicks and that stuff's gonna get the views. Like him coming in the ring, he had a GoPro on his head, that frog splash on that other guy. Like that is stuff that people are gonna eat up that don't even watch tonight. They're like, oh, look at this, and let's get excited about a sports drink.
It's the little things that he does as well. Like halfway down before he frog splashed that guy, the reaction on his face of, oh crap, I'm about to take out my guy. Like it's the very little things that he also does that just like, man, this guy gets it. He just somehow
it's like he realized in the air that it wasn't R-Truth also. Like midway through. Oh no.
It's so ridiculous. I can make a case that Rollins and Paul could be top 3 on the card for night 1, just because it was so smooth. And so it's Seth. So the story coming in is Seth Rollins has a problem with Paul, like legit. Mm-hmm. Seth Rollins got a problem with a lot of people, by the way. He got a problem with Cody Rhodes. He got a problem with Logan Paul. He's got an attitude problem, and I understand why he's got an attitude because we talked about this before on the show as well. Because Seth Rollins feels like, oh, I'm just only going to be good enough to win the U.S. or Intercontinental Championship. Why can't I be in the main event? Why can't I be at the top of the card? He's talked about it in all the press that he did leading up to WrestleMania. Like, I've got a problem with Cody Rhodes being in this spot. What about me? I've been busting my ass all this time. What about me? So it's a lot of that, and it's legit heat that he has with these people. Same thing with Logan Paul. He has a problem with Logan Paul for real, and Logan Paul's just trying to make a payday, but he makes it look easy. He makes it look easy, and in this matchup here, what impressed me, Paul not only did all the moves, but this seated octopus. Did you see that?
Yeah.
Like, where'd you get that from?
I mean, Cole shouted out Inoki during that move, like Inoki and Logan Paul in the same sentence.
It's just
pro wrestling in 2023. Right. Welcome to it.
All of us have seen wrestlers try to do this for 10, 15, 20 years and never get it. And then you see Logan Paul come in, practice a little bit and probably in some backyard ring. It's like, yep, I got it. I got all the steps ready to go. And flawless with it, Gabe. Flawless.
I know my book report on NXT Stand and Deliver isn't due yet, and I haven't watched the whole thing back quite yet. But some of it delivers. Some of it you go, oh, that's why you're in NXT. Like, so when Logan Paul makes it look this easy, it's not. It's not that easy. Right. There are men and women in NXT that have been grinding to do this for 5, 6, 7 years and still don't have whatever Logan Paul has and possesses once he steps inside of a professional wrestling ring. Like, he makes it look easy, and I don't know how he does it because it's not supposed to be that easy to do what he's done every time he stepped in, whether it's been with The Miz or Roman Reigns or Seth Rollins and all these different matches that he's had.
Also, to your point, JHood, about Rollins, we've heard stuff before where he said, he's always going to be like sort of the savage to Roman Hogan. At WWE Stats points out, 7 straight Manias now with the match for Seth. That's the longest active streak on the roster.
As far as amount of matches in a row?
Yes, 7 straight years he's had a match at Mania on the main card.
And you know what? Some of that means something to him and some it doesn't because it's not in the main.
Correct. Yes.
He thinks he should be the face of the company. I get he's totally over. We know that. But there's some bitterness there that's seeping out.
Well, because he feels like he has to defend that Savage spot, right? Like now you got people coming for that Savage spot. Like you're trying to be Hogan, and you're still trying to fight people off as you're trying to be number 2.
It was in the back of my head though. What if Rollins lost? Little Fandango Jericho
I
action.
thought it might have gone that way.
I was thinking about him like, oh, what if now he'd be really pissed off. Like, now I got to lose against this guy too? Really?
Well, so that's the other thing about tonight overall. Like, yes, we're all sort of consensus, a good night, a fun night, a sort of predictable night, and even a sort of like, let's play to the crowd. You look at the results, Theory, and I guess if you want to count Rhea, the only heels that won tonight. Everything else went the way of the faces.
But also, like, that crowd was pretty pro Rhea.
Right, exactly. So I wouldn't even count Rhea in that department. So literally, Theory's the only heel that won tonight, and that was the first match of the night.
All right, let's talk about this for a second. Okay, going back to Charlotte. So a couple of weeks leading into the pay-per-view, we started getting some boos for Charlotte. Now, I'll be the first to tell you, Charlotte to me is a better heel than babyface.
Yep, she sucks in the face.
I mean, she's a heel, and she tried to give you a heel promo.
Shocking. Shocking. A Flair's good as a heel. I mean, who could have saw this?
Yeah, I mean, listen. I mean, when Rick had to be turned babyface, he threw a fit. He couldn't stand it because he didn't want to have that much offense. He wanted to take the defense. That means I got to come from underneath. Okay, now I got to punch and chop, and I come off the top rope and actually hit it this time. Like all that, he didn't work that hard. He didn't. So I remember. Guys, was it St. Louis for the Raw where she did this heartfelt promo, and they were giving her the what chant?
Yeah.
You remember this?
Yeah, like after she came back. I don't remember what it was, but it was like early in the return.
It was very early in the return.
Yeah. And she just was like, okay, what's with the what chant? You could tell, even from there, people were behind Rhea because they believe Rhea deserves this opportunity to be champion. He deserves it. So I heard that in the crowd, too. I kind of ignored the WrestleMania crowd for the most part. International crowd, they're going to go with the heels every time. Wait until we get to Raw, it's going to be upside down, which is fine. We as fans can say what we want, but I think that people looked at Rhea and said, she deserves this opportunity. Enough for Charlotte. She's had the championship 100 times. Let's go with Rhea. That's the feeling I had watching the match.
Oh, yeah, you needed to put someone in. I know Rhea's she's been Raw champion before, and obviously was NXT champion and got a WrestleMania moment when she was NXT champion, when she got to go up against Charlotte in the Thunderdome Mania. But this is the first time I feel like Rhea's really had a chance with a character that you can get behind. And it feels so fresh and new still that, okay, much like when Bianca initially went over Becky a year ago, it's like, okay, this was time. Like Becky and this character has kind of come to its, run its course, and now it's time for Bianca to go over. And I kind of feel that's the way it was. Not that, Charlotte's character needs refreshing, but it's just like, okay, we've got an opportunity to make a new star here at WrestleMania. Let's jump on this opportunity. Rhea could go so far by giving her this win over Charlotte on this big stage.
Yeah, and I hope they continue with it. Like, I hope we don't see Charlotte get the title right back, because to your point about Rhea's character, like, there actually is a character now. I feel like before the character was, hey, look, Rhea doesn't look like the rest of our women. Like, get behind that. Like, that was essentially the character. But now with the Judgment Day stuff, and maybe they go away from it with Dominic losing. If Finn's going to lose tomorrow, like, there might not be much longer for Judgment Day.
And her entrance music finally makes sense because, like, yeah, she looked different. So this is my brutality. Like, okay, but are you really that brutal?
Right.
But now, like, she is. Like, she actually is. This is my brutality makes sense.
Somebody hit me on social while we were watching the WrestleMania saying, boy, I think that Rhea's reckless. And I go, wait, is she reckless? I'm like, no, Goldberg's reckless.
Right.
No. I disagree with her being reckless. Is she physical? Yes. But that's a good thing, though. That's not your light, typical WWE wrestling that we saw tonight against Charlotte. It was physical for a reason, because there was a grudge.
And also, like, I don't know, outside of these two going up, again, maybe you get Bianca in there, but she's not as physical. She has more agility in her offensive repertoire because of, her past track success and the type of athlete she is. Like, outside of these two in the ring in the women's division, I don't know how many more matches you can have that are going to be this physical in that division, just because of how, just again, physically dominant these two are because of their heights and the work that they've put in to be as big and strong as they are. Like, I just don't know if you can, if Rhea Ripley's going up against Liv Morgan, she's not going to be able to be as physical as she was against Charlotte tonight.
She can.
And that's not a rip on Liv. That's just, she's much smaller. Or Alexa Bliss, if you want to talk about the 5 Feet of Fury.
No, it's fine. She can be physical that way against Liv. Liv will just smile afterwards. Just for no reason. And don't forget, Raquel Rodriguez is next, pal. Don't forget the back. The strong back
that
of
could
Raquel.
be a fun match if Raquel, like, that could be a good face heel, storyline there. If Raquel, they let her just go, but I don't see that happening.
Yeah. But hats off to Seth Rollins and Logan Paul. We thought it was going to be a good match. It's actually better than I thought it was going to be. But just one little twist on that. So if you're a Seth Rollins fan and you see Seth Rollins beat Logan Paul but struggle to do so, then what does that say for Seth Rollins? You struggled against the social media star.
I feel like the WWE doesn't put much
So
stock in
did
that.
Roman. Technically,
yeah.
Roman didn't put him away quickly.
Oh, that was like McGregor, that was like the McGregor fight, the fake fight that McGregor had with the heavyweight
with
champion.
Mayweather.
With Mayweather, yeah, he was just toying with him.
Fair.
This match is better. The Logan Paul Seth Rollins is better. It's much better than I thought it was going to be. That's for sure. Somebody on our twitch.tv/Good Karma Wrestling says that Logan Paul is like the Shane O'Mac.
Yeah.
You see that?
Logan Paul is just a Shane O'Mac stuntman clone.
Because he does the coast to coast. Like, is that the only thing we're saying? Like, I guess outside of the coast to coast, I guess I just don't see it. Because unless Logan Paul's what Shane O'Mac wants to be when he grows up.
Right, because I feel like Paul's more believable. Maybe that's just because we don't get the terrible Shane O'Mac punches, but like, I don't know, he just seems better in the ring. I don't know what it is.
Like he never extends his punches. Everything's like right here, and he's just like throwing with his shoulders. He like never actually extends the arm.
It's weird with Shane. Either he misses or he connects and it's stiff.
Right.
There's no in between. Like, you broke my nose, you idiot. Sorry, man. Sorry.
Like, again, that right hand that Logan Paul threw, like after Seth stomped on the hand and then he throws the big right hand, one of the people who actually stuck around for that match was like, whoa, did he actually just hit him? Like, it was a really good sell by Seth. Yeah, Logan Paul, very, very smooth. Do we want to talk about Austin Theory, John Cena? I guess
absolutely.
It happened.
Yes, but before that, let me just say this. You really, WWE, still going to go with the zip line, huh? Still going to do that?
I agree. That was my first thought. I was like, I don't know.
Don't like that.
Not comfortable.
But I also wonder, like, they seem to maybe bend some rules for him. Like, Punk always made us think about, like, sponsors and stuff. Like, that energy drink thing, like, if anyone besides Logan Paul has to do it, they're not getting yes.
Correct.
Don't like that zip line thing. Don't like that.
Yep.
I mean, I'm sure that the zip lines are a lot more secure now than they were in '99 for Owen. But I did not like that spot. Just like, can he just walk down the ramp like everybody else? I mean, right. I know it's WrestleMania, and I know it's not for me. Okay, it's WrestleMania. You got to do all these, jazz hands, but that still makes me a little uncomfortable when I see anybody come down on a zip line. But
completely agree.
Yeah. And I think it's going to make a lot of people uncomfortable, even if you're just a casual wrestling fan, because you think zip line, you think professional wrestling, it's the first thing your mind goes to, and you don't want people thinking about that during one of your biggest events of the year. I guess do we want to do the tag match? Because the tag match was fine. The tag match ended up being better than I thought it would be. I got really worried for a second that one of those big guys was going to do like a shooting star press off the top and like had flashbacks to when Brock Lesnar did it, even though like Brock Lesnar at OVW, if you've never seen Brock Lesnar actually do a shooting star press, like it was majestical and graceful and unbelievable when he did it in OVW. And then when he tried to do it in WrestleMania, almost damn near killed himself. Yeah. So I got a little worried when all those big guys started going to the top ropes. They let those guys go and do some some show stealing moves, and it ended up being better and more entertaining than I thought it was. Street Profits winning, cool. Maybe they get shots in the future, but it was just a fun match. And that's, I guess, I don't have much more to say about that. It's not like there's a bunch of storyline that went into this thing.
No, it's just spot fest, and it actually saved the match. I mean, Ricochet, we already knew that he was ridiculous, but he is ridiculous. Mm-hmm. It is true. I have not seen a shooting star press quite like that in a long time. Maybe in Indies, but not
he like paused in midair.
Yeah, it was.
I understand how that works.
That's I mean, he is unbelievable. He is ridiculous, Ricochet, the way he does that. But I like the spots from Otis and Braun Strowman and Gabe. So that Gable suplex on Strowman.
Holy shit.
Oof.
Yeah.
That's a tough move right there, brother. Like, there's no shush there. There's no gimmick there. That guy could be a star anywhere else except the WWE.
Well, I really hope that once they break up the Alpha Academy, which is what they're going with this whole Otis thing, like, let this guy go, man. Like, let's see what he can do. He's never going to be your heavyweight champ, but why can't he be an IC champ that just wrestles the crap out of everybody?
Yeah, like he's one of those guys that no matter who you put him with shows what he can do. Like he's entertaining. He can go in the ring. Like he seems to have it all outside of just, looking the WWE part because of his height. Let him go. Let's see what we can get out of that.
We'll talk more about it, I'm sure, as we move forward after WrestleMania. But Street Profits, with them winning, tells me that they're not breaking up anytime soon.
Mm-hmm. Well,
that's what we're looking for.
Unless that's, unless they lose, like this gives them a tag team opportunity. They fall again and then have some sort of falling out after that.
Oh, I like that story there. Like them, super over baby faces versus KO and Sami.
Oh, so you're saying Dawkins takes a pinfall again? That's what you're saying?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, okay, that's what you're saying. Jannetty takes the pinfall.
I mean, Ford's not taking the fall there. I mean, let's be honest.
He's not.
Let's be honest here.
That's how you turn the page after WrestleMania. Like, okay, we've done all the, and I don't know the merchandise of Street Profits. I'm sure it does well, but at some point you got to start cultivating stars.
Mm-hmm.
Post Reigns, say Reigns loses. Okay, so who are your contenders? The next 10 contenders. You can't keep relying on the Edges and the Trishes and these people and Lita and these people and celebrities to hold up WrestleMania. You got to find new stars, man, and they're in the company. And, it's not that you got to keep going to AEW or going to indies to try to find the next star. They're in the company. You just have to cultivate them.
Well, sort of, you mentioned those names, Lita and Trish. Like, it's pretty cool to see, Io and Dakota sort of get their stage tonight. Lita and Trish did their thing, which really isn't surprising. It is surprising that Lita is not even 50 yet. Like, they mentioned that she WrestleMania 20 years ago. Like, I don't think I realized how young she was back then.
Yeah.
But I think that match was good.
They're both 47 and don't move like they used to.
Correct.
That was kind of my observation from that match.
You're such an ageist bastard.
Like, I mean,
they're doing the best you can.
I understand, but that poetry in motion just didn't quite hit for me.
I mean, Lita was hitting her spots. It just were in slow motion. That's
that's all I'm saying. Like the Lita salt, like again, getting up to the top and hitting the Lita salt was probably the best thing she did toward the end of the match. But yeah, some of the other stuff in between was a little
the whisper in the wind didn't quite look like Matt and Jeff, but they hit it. Like,
So are you thinking, Browitz, that this is the end for Damage Control, or are they going to stay together?
I mean, they can't keep losing all the time, right? Like, what else are they going to do with them? Like, they're just glorified jobbers at this point. Like, what have they won?
Other than the women's tag. So here's the thing. Do Io and Dakota turn on Bayley? Because Bayley's the one who accepted this match. Bayley's the one who accepted the tag team match against Lynch and Lita, like on their behalf. Do they realize, hey, we can go out and win this? We've outgrown Bayley.
Bayley took the loss tonight.
Yeah. So I wonder if that's the way they go to try to continue to build those two up. Because look, I mean, Bayley's been a big enough star in WWE where pretty much anything you put her in, it's going to be one of those bigger storylines in the women's division because she's been one of the top baby faces. She's been one of the top heels. Like, she's one of the 4 horsewomen. Like, she's whatever storyline you put her in, it's going to be featured. And maybe these two going over her and kind of turning on her is a way to continue to produce, push these two further.
I'm fine with that. And then Bayley as a face going after heel Rhea or something like that. Like, there's things you can do with Bayley as a face again.
Man, Bayley has been a heel so long, I can't remember her as a babyface.
I know.
Because first of all, the turn should never happen because she was a Cena-like babyface.
Mm-hmm.
Was in NXT going into WWE, like she's smiling at everybody. This is not like the fake, Raquel Rodriguez smile. I'm talking about like the actual. Young fans were into Bayley.
Yeah, the side pony. Yeah, she's a hugger. Awesome. The wacky arm and flailing tube guys.
The greatest. It was. I was like, this woman is going to be able to be a top babyface in the company. And what does Vince do? She's a heel, goddammit, and then and changes her. And I'm just like, okay, all right, but her going back to that or her being a babyface, that'd be interesting. I'll just say for the other two, I really believe that they need a mouthpiece. That's why Bayley's in this position. So if there is going to be a turn, there needs to be a mouthpiece for the other two. because Io doesn't speak English, and then Dakota just an okay
she's
promo.
all right, yeah.
I don't know if I could tell you what Dakota's voice sounded like. If you played me 4 voice clips, I don't know if I'd be able to identify her voice.
It has an accent.
It's
sure.
She's
If you say so.
Yeah, New Zealand, Australian-ish, somewhere in there.
Yes.
This is news to me. I'm good for her. Congrats on the New Zealand-ish in your accents. All right. Cena.
Yeah. Can't avoid it anymore.
So when they brought out the Make-A-Wish kids and make the big deal out of these 600 Make-A-Wishes that he's done, like, okay, I guess Cena's going over because, like, you're not going to bring out Make-A-Wish kids decked out in John Cena gear and then make them watch their hero lose. But then that's what they did. So I understood.
And one of the kids, I don't know if you caught it, like, just go win, John, like, as he's running off. Like,
I mean, I understand he didn't lose clean, you know? I mean, in one of these years, maybe Hunter will undertake this as he progresses in his career in the back. They got to start toughening up these WWE referees, right? Like, I mean, just one little bump and you're out for 5 minutes. Like, what the hell's going on?
Or just stay out of the way. Why are you so close to the ropes? Like, you don't need to be there.
We saw it happen in a later match where the ref almost got in the way, dove out of the way, made sure he didn't have to take the bump, didn't have to take the hit, so he had to be down for 5 minutes. But I don't know. It was fine. It was there. As I mentioned, the worst thing that you can have in professional wrestling is apathy.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what Austin Theory like, nobody gives a rip about this guy. Like, it's just, oh, okay, I guess Theory won. All right, what's next?
As I projected to you guys, if this is going to be the first match, if Cena is going to lose, because Cena's got the limo running, and he's going to leave as soon as I knew he's going to lose the match, and I wasn't sure if it was going to be first, but then it was announced it was going to be first. Like, oh, it's first. Oh, he's leaving. He's going to lose and leave. But here's the thing that was a little bit of a different rub. It's like he lost, and Cena just laid there for a while. I'm like, usually he's already in the car by now.
I mean, 8 count down is so vicious. He had to, take it.
That's the worst loss of Cena's career. I'll call it right now. Against that guy, that's the worst loss of his career. And just like, and by the way, that could have been on any Raw. That's how just mediocre that match was. But it was by design, because Cena's like, all right, under 10, beat me with your finish. We're done. I'll see you next year.
But like, and it goes back to the one time that Cena could make in his schedule to show up. He buried him and pissed on the grave.
Yeah.
Like with the promo that he cut against Austin Theory. Like, Theory was in a no-win situation, even though he ended up winning the match. Like, oh, well, Cena already called this. Okay, if you beat him, we still don't have to care about you. So we're not going to care about you.
And that's it. Like, the crowd doesn't. And when they did the other promo later in the night, I was like, okay, maybe we'll get something to come out of it. Obviously, Jay White's name being thrown around.
Nothing.
Just filler. Okay, cool.
Nothing. He gave you the interview. The question was longer than his answer.
Yeah, it was. It was. It was Byron Saxton's time to shine.
It's like Saxton got a payday just to ask a 20-second question with a 10-second answer. I mean, that's I don't know.
I will say, Theory trying to get out there. Friday night was with someone. Theory, one of the 3 wrestlers on Wheel of Fortune, with his midriff showing, wearing a cutoff T-shirt, and someone said, "What's going on in that television right there?" Like, oh, that's a wrestler. Happy WrestleMania weekend.
Yeah, that's about it, right? It's about it. So I mean, it's what I expected, and it's interesting about that ref bump. First, I was like, a ref bump in the first match. Jessica Carr took a bump and she didn't go down. Notice that?
Gotta protect Cena somehow, even though, like, I don't know, like, yeah, he can still go, but I mean, we just see him every year. Mania now, that's it.
Go get him, John. I'm gonna lose, kid. Da 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 da. That's what happened. I heard the kid. Go get him, John. I'm gonna be out of here in 10 minutes. Da 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 da. $10 million. Da, 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 da.
It's a good way to miss traffic. You get there early, you leave early. Like, it works out perfect.
Best. He's already on the plane going to his next movie. So, I mean, hey, I put this kid over, but yet but we talked about that promo just moments ago, right?
Mm-hmm.
So you put him in the trick bag with that promo. So you can't have a match. Cena loses the match, but in the promo, by the way, if you beat me, you're still shit. If I beat you, you're still shit. But let's have the match anyway. Okay, what does that do for that young man? It does nothing for
Nothing.
Zero. So
I mean, I still like the promo because everything he said, I felt like. I think the crowd loved the promo because we all felt that way that John was saying, right? But even though Hunter, like, I don't understand what Vince saw in him. I don't understand what Hunter saw in this guy. I just don't get it. I don't get it. Like, Cena goes out, they let him say whatever he wants. Still, they're just like, no, this is the guy. This is our future. Austin Theory.
Like, at least when Fandango beat Jericho, he got the song over the next night. Like, there's not going to be anything over Monday when it comes to Theory.
Yeah. At least that still happens from time to time. Like, if Fandango were to show up tomorrow night at WrestleMania, like, everybody would be going doo 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 doo, like, right? Like, you would get something. And that's how bad Austin Theory is. We're talking about Fandango instead of him.
By the way, we're not taking a personal shot at Austin Theory. We're just saying his creative is just dull.
Yep.
It's McMahon era dull. Like, it's the last thing Vince did before he was let go of the company. He sat down with him and did like vignettes with Vince. It didn't do anything for Austin Theory. Nothing.
This weekend shows, and you referenced it, Brian. We talked about the different shows that we assigned each other in our regular show on Thursday. There is so much good in-ring professional wrestling in 2023. Like, it's unbelievable how good it is. And, Vikingo, by all accounts, delivered last night in 2 different places.
Which match? Which one? He was in 3 or 4.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, he was everywhere. Like,
and Thursday night, and I think he has another match tonight also. He's not stopping.
So there's a lot of good in-ring stuff. And if you make it to the main roster of Monday Night Raw, I assume, unless your name is Omos, you can go. That you can go in the ring.
Tomorrow night, get excited for that. A lot of promo for that Sunday night.
And Austin Theory can go. Like, he can put on a good enough match. And the one thing the Bloodline has taught us is if you can get characters that people can get behind and tell stories with those characters that we can really connect to and believe in, that can make it really, really special. And we talk about this. You brought up the name earlier, Raquel Rodriguez. We talk about it with her. And it's the same thing with Austin Theory. Give me a reason to care. Give me a reason to boo you other than just you're a smarmy heel. Like, I need a reason to boo you other than you decided to have a low blow against John Cena. Like, I need, like, and look, maybe you just need to go away for a little bit because I'm still not over WWE. They put you in a bad spot. They had you win the Money in the Bank, and then they had you cash it in on the U.S. title, and then you got a U.S. title championship match without having to do anything anyway, just a couple of weeks later. Like, they put you in a bad spot. Just reboot the whole thing if you really believe in the kid that much, because right now you're running him out there, and it's not good for anybody.
But remember, in between cashing in Money in the Bank and then winning the U.S. title, like, there was a little bit of time in a couple promos where we started saying, like, all right, we see it. We're seeing something there. And now we're at this point where literally it's just silence out there. Like, they were starting to get him to that point, and somehow, I don't know, maybe that is a him problem, but there's nothing there. Like, it's pretty bad right now. Is it like he's Baron Corbin at this point?
Oh, that's a low blow. But it's
Baron Corbin beat Kurt Angle in Kurt Angle's last match. How's that going for him?
It's accurate. I mean, you just can't roll a guy out there and he just does the same things. And here's the thing: I can understand if we did not like him because there's heat.
Right?
So heat.
Oh, yeah, heat.
So I mean, so you beat Cena, great. You beat a Hall of Famer. Now what? So you're gonna brag about that until what? Right?
SummerSlam.
Yeah, he's billed as a loner. And so he's not going to have a manager anytime soon unless Paul Heyman's going to be working with him. But just the promo is just lame. The look with the sunglasses, what I saw in 1989, like that doesn't do anything for me. So, I mean, hats off to him that he was able to lead, and start off WrestleMania. But he's got, I mean, it's not him. the company has a lot of work to do if you're going to invest in this young man. If you're going to invest in theory, work on it. Like, he's got to be more than this. If that's all it is, then that's no good. Like, a guy with a championship, the championship's making him at this point in time.
Or he's dragging it down.
Yeah.
Especially when you have one champion between the two shows. And you try to feature that, like the Intercontinental Championship has been featured on SmackDown. They've tried to do the same thing on Raw with the U.S. Championship, and one of them is hit and the other is not. And one of them is going to deliver a banger tomorrow night, and the other one disappointed some Make-A-Wish kids today.
That's do. Gonna lose, kid. Da. Win for me, John. Not tonight. Do.
Maybe next time, kid. Maybe next time.
Not tonight. But you know what? We do have, by the way, we have a special podcast for the ROH Supercard of Honor. That'll be part of the our podcast feed. And of course, we'll be on tomorrow night for night 2 of WrestleMania.
Night 2, WrestleMania tomorrow night. It's got a lot to live up to, by the way. Like, it's going to be tough to live up to, I think, what happened tonight. Especially very wise to put on the worst match first, and then we just got to build and have a good time after we saw John Cena, Austin Theory. I'm just going to keep burying that. Tough. You bring him out, like, all right, I could go another, like, 10 minutes and making jokes about those poor Make-A-Wish kids.
No shout out to the cameraman Stu. No Stu love. Just like, it's go get it, John. Nope. Like a ball spot.
Those poor kids. Like, that's going to be a WrestleMania memory. Like, oh yeah, I got to go see my hero lose at WrestleMania. They brought me out so he could lose.
Yeah, Kivo 0884 between Cena losing in front of the Cancer Kid, Samoa Joe choking out Mark Briscoe in front of his still grieving family. The wrestling industry really said F them kids this weekend.
That's exactly right.
Yep. Well, I mean, they're on the town that said F them picks. So, you know, they're just trying to keep it consistent. They're in the stadium of the team who said F them picks. So, you know.
Yes. Rey Mysterio, shout out to you drinking tequila and showing your thong as you came into the ring at WrestleMania night.
All right, with that, okay, that seems like a great place to end the show.
We saw it.
We did. It's a thing that happened. Again, he's not wrong. But tomorrow night, we will be back. Once again, another live edition as we react live. Will Roman Reigns still be the undisputed WWE Universal Champion? We'll find out together, and we'll react to it tomorrow night right on these same channels.